All right, this is another episode of the Get Made podcast. I got a wonderful guest today. Young man, young entrepreneur, family man, businessman, community activist, community leader, you name it, that's him, right? And he one of the youngest in charge around here, and I'm gonna let him introduce himself. But I want everybody to meet Sharif Abdul Malik, owner of one of the business that I really know I love that he has is called We Buy Black. And I know a lot of you guys know who he is. I know a lot of you know what's happening with him. We're going to talk about this manhood thing from an entrepreneur's perspective today. All right. So without further ado, Sharif.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Brothers. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. I appreciate the invite, the excellent intro. For those who don't know who I am after that intro, I don't know what else I could add, but I'll just let it take from here, but I appreciate the intro, the invite, and proud to be here.
All right. Well, we glad and I definitely appreciate you, man, accepting the invite. When I started this program, this podcast, you were one of the men that I had in mind that I would really love to interview, have on the show amongst other men.
Yes, sir.
Right. And so, I was definitely excited when you accepted the offer to come on. So,
oh yeah, most definitely.
One of the things we do at the Get Made podcast before we start, we have what we call the Get Made podcast questions. There's 3 questions, right? And then from the third question, we pivot over into the interview itself. All right.
Okay.
So, you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. So first question, what book have you read that has been inspirational for you, preferably by a Black author, right? But if not, then what would it be?
Preferably by a Black author. In line with entrepreneurship, the first book that I've read, it was Think and Grow Rich, but it was the Black choice one.
Black choice, yeah.
yeah. So I didn't read the original Think and Grow Rich. I read the one that I had just at my house. I don't know if my father or my mother just they purchased it, but that was the one that was there.
Right.
It was the Think and Grow Rich, the Black choice. So I read a lot of stories about black men and women and their entrepreneurial ventures and how they got started.
Right.
And I got excited about that. Felt like that's something that I could get into as well.
Okay, no, that's what's up, man. I got, of course, being
Dennis Kimbrough. That's his name, Dennis
Kimbrough. Yeah, I've been able to actually read the original, Think and Grow Rich, and I think it was Napoleon Hill.
That's right.
Then I also read his version of it as well. So that's a great book, man. It's a great book. So
yes, sir.
Next, what Black male figure that you know specifically that has been inspirational for you?
Oh, well, definitely my father first. If it's outside of family, there's been a lot of brothers that I've admired, and I believe I'm a very critical person. So I kind of like look at people, and I say, well, I love this about them, and I take that. And then I say, you know what? When it comes to everything else, I'm just focused with Muhammad the Prophet, But no, there's. I say this to a lot of people. They know me. There was a young brother that was really instrumental in my life when I was growing up. I just felt like he was perfect, and couldn't nobody tell me anything different, But his name was Rasul Mayun. He had passed away when he was like 29 years old. But to me, he had all of the elements of manhood, that even that I respect today, like just things that I would just say, okay, this is the ideal man, the embodiment of a man. As a young man, he had that, and a lot of people who know him, they could attest to that and say the same thing. So I would say definitely them two, and there's been many others. I mean, many others, even to this day. They're brothers that I admire, that I look up to, and But I would say that my critique or the way I look at things is there's no one for you Muslim or Christian or you don't have to have a faith at all. Um, no one is better than Muhammad the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And I've come to learn that, I would hear that growing up, but I've come to learn that as a student, and just studying people in general. There's no one more perfect in all aspects and all facets of our life. I could attest to that. I could witness that. I could say I witnessed that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what's up. All right. So, last question. Then from this question, we're going to go ahead and dip into the interview itself.
Okay.
What is your opinion of the state of Black manhood from the entrepreneurial perspective? Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get specific. That you can kind of dive into where you need to, but I do want you to kind of look at this from the entrepreneurial aspect.
Yes, sir. So from an entrepreneurial standpoint, there's what I would say is that Black men need leadership, and that leadership needs to be wholesome and holistic. It cannot be leadership that is focusing in on how to get a crumb from a huge pie. It has to be leadership that focusing on to understand that whole pie can essentially we could be a part of that whole pie.
Okay.
And from what I've been seeing is that you have a lot of young African American male leadership that's stepping up, but they're calling us to something that appears to be big, but yet it's very small. And it's fleeting because we don't have ownership of it. It's fleeting. So we may call people to the stock market, for example.
Okay. And
then show people there's all the ways that we can make money, but none of those companies that we're talking about investing in are companies from our community. So, but that same effort and that same energy and same finance, the same finances that are going to these companies, if we could find the right company in our community that has all of the right traits, the person, the product, the process, they have all the right traits, then we could focus that energy and those finances, those resources right to that company and catch them at an early stage before they even go public. And that's how the people who get on, that's how the rich really get rich. That's how they really get rich. But it's that's what I think. I think we have a lot of distractions right now. And when it comes to African American, male Black manhood in relation to entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship is solely about creating something really from nothing, or advancing something really from wherever it was at. And we have to look at our whole community in light of that, and even if you can't figure out a way to bring your community completely along, then you should be building something that I'm talking about. We should be building something that includes everybody.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, all right, you gave me a few things that we're going to dive into with what you just said, right? So, in the aspect of leadership, what is it that you believe that they are lacking, and what ways are they lacking the leadership for entrepreneurship? What are they missing? What are some of the components that are missing?
Right. So, for example, like we have a lot of great examples in our past. When as a people, when we weren't able to be treated fairly, there were things that we had to do, protests or boycotts that we created that affected the pockets of other people.
Mm-hmm.
and it caused them to have a difference of opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that they now like you. It just
Mm-hmm.
means that now we have to cooperate because you're affecting our pockets.
Okay.
And I think that you know speaking on things critically, I think that we have to revisit those things.
Mm-hmm.
We have to revisit those things. When one of us get murdered, and that's then those same business people who are talking about the stock market, this and that, all of those great things. I love that. But
Mm-hmm.
those are the same people who have the influence enough to come together and to say, well, hold on now, that boy that got hung, or that boy that they found with the police foot on his neck and all those type of other things. He was wearing Nikes. So but Nike don't have anything. They're not saying anything. But whether we want to see it this way or not, he paid $130 for those shoes. He supported Nike.
Mm.
So Nike should in turn have someone have a part of their system that should be looking to figure out ways to they should have something a part of their system to ensure that justice is served. Like we have that. Like if something happened in any of our companies, you have a customer service department, you have a mitigation department. You got to figure out ways to handle that. They have that
Right.
too, but they prioritize those who come as a group. They prioritize those who could affect them as a business. And I'm saying that we could.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I see. I know they may be far-fetched, and what makes it even more difficult is when we've been pushing everybody for the last 5-10 years to invest in Nike. You
Right.
really don't want to say anything like that because it's gonna hurt your pockets. But he was wearing Nike. He had a
Nike hoodie on, or
Nike hoodie on, Verizon
right.
phone. His
Right.
whole from top to bottom,
Mm-hmm.
it was coming from somebody else other than us.
Right.
And none of them are speaking out when that boy got his head, when he had his head stumped out, or he was being choked out. And
Right.
those organizations, those groups, these young Black entrepreneurs who could come together and call them out to that, they're afraid to do that because they're afraid to do that because they're in bed with a lot of them,
Okay.
and I'm saying that not all of them, but and I'm pretty sure some of them heard this. They'd be like, you know what, he actually right on that. And this is not, a lot of this is not nothing new. A lot of this, I told a lot of those individuals, that
Mm-hmm.
this is the way that we really got to operate. If we really want to change, this is the way that we really got to operate. And it's going to be uncomfortable in the beginning, but
yeah, it literally will be take a step back to take 2 steps forward, right?
Exactly.
That's what I'm hearing you
Exactly.
say.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yep.
And then what I'm also hearing you say is that there seemingly is a lack of organization. We don't walk organized.
Right.
I think you make a good point when you say, okay, we are a consumer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that guy that got the young man, who he might be,
Right.
who was murdered or who was killed in an unjust manner.
Right.
And if you want to make some noise about it, yeah, he was wearing those Nike shoes, and I'm sure that he had a whole bunch of people. There's a lot of other people who have them. Matter of fact, I got a pair of Nike pants on right now.
Yeah.
Right. You know
I
what
got
I'm
some
saying?
shoes back there.
I'm sitting here with a Kango on and sitting here with Ray-Bans on my eyes. And, there's a lot of branding labels that I wear that they are not really functioning in the community, and we're not organizing. So from an entrepreneur, even a social entrepreneur aspect, if we were able to organize them, to then have them affect the community, put money back into the community, maybe being able to someone, let's say someone like We Buy Black, who is then manufacturing some things, then having somebody like Nike even underwrite them. Right. What do they call it when they look at corporate sponsorship, if you will, right? And that is it's not sponsorship because they actually are investing back into the community, right? Having been able, because you made a point of saying we're looking for crumbs. We're playing for crumbs. Explain that a little bit more, if you will. When you say we're almost as like we're satisfied with the crumbs and we're not even trying to get on a piece of the pie.
When we actually could, that's the thing is sometimes you can see this in an individual too, but when you know that you can have something completely, but you don't feel deserving of it, or you feel that it's more deserving of someone else, then you would sabotage your own efforts. You would downplay your own efforts. You know that we could come together as a community, as a unit, and you know that we could put some strong ideas on the table. But you're comfortable. You're comfortable, and you're comfortable with what you have, and in order to get us to this leadership we're talking about, to get us to a whole nother point as a community, as a whole, that you're gonna have to become a little bit uncomfortable to do so. And you may even potentially put a target on yourself. Therefore, even if it's not in your conscious mind, your subconscious may say, I'm not going to entertain even those folk. I'm not even going to want to speak to We Buy Black. I'm not even going to want to deal with them because I know what page they on. So we're just going to stick to this programming right here. We're going to promote this programming right here. Why? Because it gives the idea, it gives our community the idea that we uplifting everybody. But really what we're doing is that we really putting everybody under their system.
Okay.
And that's the problem that I actually have when it comes to Black male leadership, entrepreneurial leadership. That is not real manhood. It poses to be, but it's not. It's like you ever met a brother that's like, look, let's I know you love this house, talking to his wife. I know you love this one brother. I know you love this house. It's nice, it's beautiful. And the rent is $3,000 a month, but it got a pool out back, it got all of this stuff. It's beautiful.
Right.
And it sit on 2 acres of land, etc. And he's like, I'm gonna get that for you. I love that for you. I'm gonna get that for you. But then you got this other guy that he's like, okay, it's not 2 acres, it's just a half an acre, or maybe a quarter of an acre. It don't have a pool in the back. It don't have none of those things. However, we're gonna own it outright. We're gonna make these payments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and we're gonna spend the same amount. That $3,000, we're gonna put $3,000 to this, although the mortgage may be $1,100.
Right.
And we're gonna refinance it from 30 years to 15 years. Now we're paying $2,200, but we're gonna spend $3,000 a month, and then we're not gonna pay every month because that's when the interest accrue. We're gonna pay it every 2 weeks, and then in less than 8 years, the house is paid off completely.
Okay.
And or 10 years, whatever the number actually is. And
right.
You got those people who know that stuff, right?
Right.
So that happens. That's another type of thinking, that we're gonna own it. But then what you have is, then you have someone that says, I like where both of you all are going. The beauty, not no small home, the beauty. How about we buy the land collectively? Everybody may not have 2 acres, but and everybody may not have a quarter acre, but let's say everyone has half an acre or 1 acre. Or let's just say half an acre, and we all have the potential to own our homes outright using the same method that he's talking about, and we all can have an HOA, and we'll build our own pool where we all can share it. And when you go around the world, you go right in your own neighborhood, you see people who actually done that. But in our community, we're not talking about that. What we're talking about is who's gonna have a big house in their neighborhood. And if that's one extreme, then the other extreme is you're gonna buy the shack, that you own. You own the shack, and it's like, nah, like let's meet in the middle. But in the middle, what it takes is it takes leadership, because now you got this community of people. Then you got to have your own grocery. Then you start thinking like that. And I see it. I'm saying that, I put out something. I used to put out a little bit more language, but you know, every now and then I put something out, or I may send something to some individuals just privately, because I don't necessarily have an interest in being in that front anymore. But and I see some changes, you know. I see some changes that are happening, you know, where we are thinking like that, you know.
Well, and you know, I'm listening to you, and when we start, then do you believe that we're just comfortable with whatever lane that we feel like is? And I don't know if you understand, if you know about blue ocean, right? Blue ocean strategies, right? And so, and it's like something that's not really just, it's not congested. It's a niche that's not congested. Is you know, the entry level to it might be a little tad harder, but it's not a lot of people in it. And versus something like red ocean, where it's like everybody's doing this particular thing. Like, for instance, I'm not pushing anything, you know, pushing anybody or trying to downplay anybody going into business, but it's like everybody want to have a t-shirt business. Right. And it seems like that's easy entry. Everybody want to sell t-shirts, right?
Yeah.
Everybody want to try to, a lot of people want to try to get a record label or something like that, right?
Right.
And it seems like, you know, if it ain't sports, then it's some type of business that seem like everybody's doing it. It's so congested, and we're not looking at how we can do something different. Have you ran into that?
Oh yeah.
As far as entrepreneurship
Oh,
and the people that you encounter.
Oh yeah. Every day. You know, so I consulted maybe I lost count at some point, but
Okay.
you know, anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000 businesses for sure.
Okay.
You know, and that's something that I always bring up. Like, I always have to address it, you know, because, you know, in our community, that's a real thing. Like what you just said, it's t-shirts. You know, that's a real thing, especially amongst the younger generation. Like, if I went into a school and I asked them, like, what do you all want to do? If you want to be an entrepreneur, what do you all want to do? A lot of them are going to say, I want to own my own clothing line.
Right.
I say, okay, but what exactly does that look like? And they're going to jump straight to t-shirts. They're not saying I want to produce my own jeans, or, you know, I want to produce my own shoes. They kind of jump straight to t-shirts and hoodies, right? And I would, you know, if I was to speak to a young group like that, I would sort of put, you know, if there's a boy, I've done this before. I can't say I've done it a number of times, but I definitely remember me doing it before, where I would show them this process from the farm to your mailbox, like what that looks like, and showing them that they could play a part in any of these. They can even play a part in a delivery.
Right.
That last mile delivery. You could play a part in any of these parts, like literally from the farming of cotton. And that's not as attractive to black folk. You know what I mean? But the
man, I'm glad
company,
you said that. Man, I'm really glad you just said that. That it ain't attractive.
No, it ain't attractive, man. We don't want to hear nothing about picking cotton. You know, we don't want to hear nothing about the cotton industry. But that's what we wearing. That's the big business. Like you said, that's what we wearing on our back. I know a young brother, you know, here in Atlanta, Muslim young brother here in Atlanta, Umar Clark, who got
Shout
established.
out to brother Omar Clark. Shout out to brother Omar Clark.
Shout out to him. You know, he went and this is after he's been pushing this message of do for self. That, you know, that really started in his mind, and it rested in his mind that we should be. And if anybody was following him, he was using his language a lot. Do for self, do for self. He even had an event, a convention that he was the Do for Self conference. So he was really pushing this thinking that we have to do for ourselves. And that's not new language. That's language that has been, particularly in the Black Muslim community, right? This need for economic independence. So we say freedom, justice, equality, but independence was a part of that.
Right.
Because you could have, you know, we ain't got to go down that line, but still we needed that economic independence, and just independence in general, independence to think, you know, what does that look like? You know, independence, you know, okay, we got the Hanafi, the Maliki, the Shafi, we have all these different schools of thought, but what is our independent thinking? Because no other human being has been set in a condition like we have been set in. Therefore, who else can create a solution other than us? Using the guidance, the guidance from God. Who else gonna be able to produce it? No different than I shouldn't expect for them to produce the best outfit for me. How are you gonna produce the best outfit for me? You see, so it's only I could produce the best outfit for me. So that thinking, it frees you and it causes you to open yourself up into a whole new realm of entrepreneurship because you're thinking different. You now say, I love t-shirts and all my friends love t-shirts. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a factory and I'm going to go somewhere in the world. So this is another layer of independent thinking and freedom to say that I don't have to be constricted just to America. I could go somewhere else in the world, which he has done. And I believe it's I don't know if it's in the Philippines. I forget exactly where his location is at. I think it's in the Philippines. But he opened up a factory where they're now producing t-shirts and other garments, hoodies, t-shirts, all these other garments, and now he's distributing these products across the world. And this is what I'm saying. Like, this is what we should be looking. This is what we should be.
Now he's actually into manufacturing at this point. He's
manufacturing it at this point. Correct. And there's still other layers to that. And he knows, so even there's other layers to that, but he found his area, and that area that he found is maybe about 4 or 5 steps before you even get to the t-shirt. Right? Like, for example, like when we get the t-shirt, you have it customized. Somebody's actually customizing it for you.
Right.
The person who's customizing it, in order for them to have a t-shirt, they had to buy that t-shirt from a distributor.
Right.
Uline, not Uline, Superline, or some other distributor.
Right.
And that distributor has all of these brands that they work with. So, and these brands that they're working with, these brands are the ones that's manufacturing their own cuts.
Right.
That's where he's at. He's there. He's at that.
Right. He's at that level. He pushed it back to that level.
He pushed it back to that level. And then you have, past that, you have the people who are taking the raw cotton, right? And then they are working with their raw cotton,
right?
And
making the sheets, making the sheets. Right, making the sheets that where they're going to be cutting those things from in the first place.
Exactly. So that farm and the person who's actually, I'm trying to think of the word, who's actually forming those sheets. Those are 2 different things.
Right. It's
like a lot of us eat corn chips, right? But we don't realize that the business is in the corn.
Right.
Because the same person who owned that cornfield is the same person. Not saying that we endorse this, but I'm just letting you know that there's the same person that's producing the corn flakes for your cereal.
Right.
The corn dogs.
Right.
the corn tortillas.
Right.
The corn, all of those things.
Anything they got to do with the corn, it's coming from somebody's farm.
And the things that you don't even know come from a corn, like beer and other things like that. You won't even know that these things are coming from these, corn syrup and everything else. Look how many products that are sold in the supermarket that have corn. So I'm saying that, as a community, when we see Rap Snacks, we say, man, that's a major achievement. That's probably the furthest we could say that we've gone. However, and this because I know the brother who influenced the young brother to even create the Rap Snacks, right? That's actually in our community as well.
Right.
And I support that. And I love that. But we can't forget that it was a black man that first created the potato chip.
Right.
So what has happened to us as a community is that somebody convinced us that we don't belong. Ooh. That someone else should be the manager over our own life.
Hold up, bro. Hold up. You kind of hit me there. You know what I mean? I think you might have to say that again, bro, because that was real. That is a real statement. So if you don't mind, please say that again.
Yeah, no problem. Some group with a particular plan that has strategized, said that and convinced us that we are not capable of managing our own life. Therefore, that they are more suited, they're more positioned to be responsible for our life. When God has created us free in our natural ability, He created us with the ability to produce for ourselves and to be responsible over our own life. and not just responsible over our own individual life, but to also be responsible for the whole universe. So think about that. That God has put in every human being. Every human being has this potential, but there has been a group of human beings who not only wanted to be responsible for the universe themselves, they wanted to ensure that you were not in a position to be responsible for the